There is an ordinary ladder in front of you, leaning against the wall. There is enough room beneath it to walk through without even lowering your head. Yet instead of taking the shorter route, you step aside and walk around it. Perhaps you do not even believe in superstitions. Still, something about walking under a ladder feels wrong. Some say that anyone who enters the space between a ladder and a wall breaks a sacred triangle and allows misfortune into their life. But there is a darker explanation. Long ago, people condemned to death may have passed beneath ladders on their way to the gallows. So where did this warning come from? What does it have to do with ancient Egypt, the Holy Trinity, and medieval executions? And what if the real danger was never supernatural? The superstition is known in many countries. Some people believe that walking under a ladder brings general bad luck. Others expect illness, financial loss, family conflict, or even death. Most people no longer know exactly what is supposed to happen. They have simply learned one rule: it is better not to walk under a ladder. Following that rule is easy. You only need to change direction slightly and take a few extra steps. So even someone who considers the superstition foolish may decide that there is no reason to test it. But to understand where this fear came from, we need to look not at the ladder itself, but at the shape it forms with the wall and the ground. A triangle. Throughout history, triangular shapes have been associated with stability, protection, and divine order. Three sides create an enclosed space. Remove one of them, and the entire shape collapses. According to one popular theory, anyone who passed beneath a leaning ladder was entering a sacred symbol. By moving through it, the person broke its invisible protection and disturbed the established order. Some later explanations claimed that spirits lived within this triangular space. They might protect the house or watch the people nearby. Walking under the ladder disturbed them and attracted their attention. But why would an ordinary geometric shape possess such power? One of the most common explanations takes us back to ancient Egypt. Ladders held an important place in Egyptian ideas about death and the afterlife. A ladder could symbolize the path by which the dead ascended from earth to the heavens. Images and small models of ladders have been found in funerary contexts. A ladder was more than a tool. It became a passage between the human and divine worlds. If a soul was expected to climb it toward the sky, a living person walking underneath could be seen as crossing that path. The person might obstruct the journey of the dead or violate a boundary that the living were not meant to cross. This theory is often connected to the sacred importance of triangular forms. Pyramids pointing toward the sky became one of the most recognizable symbols of Egyptian civilization. It is therefore easy for modern people to imagine that the Egyptians considered every triangle untouchable. This story sounds convincing. It contains a journey of the soul, a sacred shape, and a dangerous violation of the boundary between worlds. But a convincing story is not always a proven one. We know that ladders did appear in Egyptian beliefs about the afterlife. However, there is little reliable evidence that ancient Egyptians believed walking under a leaning ladder would bring misfortune. These details may have been combined much later. Ancient symbolism helped explain an existing superstition, but it was not necessarily its true origin. The next explanation appears in Christian Europe. The three sides of a triangle became associated with the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. The enclosed shape represented the Holy Trinity, and the ladder leaning against a wall accidentally created a similar form. Walking through it meant violating a sacred symbol. Some legends claimed that a person who did this showed disrespect toward God or revealed sympathy for the devil. By passing through the triangle, the person entered a space that did not belong to them and broke the unity of the three divine powers. Another Christian explanation connected the ladder with the crucifixion of Jesus. A ladder may have been used near the cross, causing it to become part of an image associated with suffering and death. Walking beneath it was believed to repeat the movement of those who stood near the place of execution. But as with the ancient Egyptian theory, there are not enough early sources to confirm this explanation. Religious texts do not provide us with a clear, continuous history of the superstition. Christian symbolism may not have created the belief. It may simply have given an existing warning a new meaning. During the Middle Ages, however, ladders really did stand near places that terrified people. The gallows. A ladder might be used to secure the rope, prepare the structure, or remove the body after an execution. In some cases, the condemned person climbed the ladder before death. The ladder therefore became associated not only with construction, but also with public execution. Imagine a medieval town square after a sentence has been carried out. A body hangs above the ground, a ladder stands nearby. The space beneath it no longer looks like a harmless passage. According to one legend, anyone who walked there might suffer the same fate. The person symbolically followed the path of the condemned and voluntarily entered a place associated with death. Other stories claimed that the spirit of the executed person remained beneath the gallows or near the ladder. If a living person crossed that space, the soul might follow them home. Such stories would have been easy to spread. Public executions made a powerful impression, and the objects surrounding them could acquire sinister reputations. But this theory cannot be considered fully proven either. Ladders were indeed used near places of execution, but we cannot say with certainty that the gallows created the superstition. They may simply have strengthened an existing fear. There is a much simpler explanation that requires no Egyptian gods, broken trinity, or spirits of the executed. Walking under a ladder is genuinely dangerous. A ladder is usually standing against a wall for a reason. Someone above may be painting, repairing a roof, installing something, or working with tools. A person passing underneath could strike the ladder with their shoulder. Even a small movement might cause it to slip or become unstable. The worker above may not notice the person below. A hammer, paintbrush, bucket, or other heavy object could fall directly onto them. Older ladders were less reliable. They were placed on uneven ground and lacked modern locks and non-slip feet. Wooden rungs wore down, cracked, and broke. Imagine a narrow city street. A worker is standing high above the ground with a metal tool in his hand. A pedestrian appears below. His shoulder touches the ladder. It shifts slightly, the worker loses his balance, and the tool falls. Misfortune does not begin following the person after they walk under the ladder. It happens at that exact moment. From this perspective, the warning becomes a sensible safety rule. Do not walk where something could fall on you. Do not disturb someone working at a height. Do not touch a structure on which another person's safety depends. But over time, a practical warning may have turned into a curse. The words, "Do not walk under the ladder because it is dangerous," require an explanation. The words, "Do not walk under it or something bad will happen," are understood immediately, especially by a child. Fear makes people obey a rule even when no adult is nearby. A child may not understand how a ladder works or why it can fall, but they will remember that passing under it brings misfortune. Generations pass. Ladders become more stable. Safety standards improve. The original explanation is forgotten, but the warning survives. Legends fill the empty space. Some people tell stories about a sacred Egyptian triangle. Others speak of the Holy Trinity. Still others mention gallows and the souls of the executed. A practical rule becomes a supernatural threat. But what should you do if you have already walked under a ladder? Folklore offers many ways to reverse the bad luck. You can turn around and walk beneath the ladder again. You can cross your fingers and keep them crossed until you see a dog. In some versions, you must spit through the rungs or make a wish. Others say you should simply walk around the ladder and continue along the other side. These actions are different, but they serve the same purpose. They make people feel that a dangerous act can be undone. If the first action opened the way for misfortune, the second action is supposed to close it. Such rituals help restore a sense of control. A person cannot change what they have already done, but they can perform another action and convince themselves that balance has been restored. That is one reason the superstition continues to survive. If something unpleasant happens after a person walks beneath a ladder, they immediately remember breaking the rule. An argument, a car problem, or a lost possession becomes evidence that the superstition works. If nothing happens, the day is quickly forgotten. We remember coincidences that confirm our fears and overlook all the times when those fears proved unfounded. Walking around the ladder also costs almost nothing. It requires only a few extra steps. So the reasoning is simple. Perhaps the superstition is not real, but why take the risk? That is the source of the warning's power. It combines a supernatural threat with a genuine physical danger. If you refuse to walk under a ladder because of superstition, you also reduce the chance that a tool or the ladder itself will fall on you. The safer choice appears to confirm the ancient belief. So which explanation is the most likely? The ancient Egyptian theory offers powerful symbolism, presenting the ladder as a path to the heavens, but it does not prove the existence of the superstition itself. The Christian theory explains the importance of the triangle, but it also lacks sufficient early evidence. The connection with Gallows creates an understandable association between ladders and death, but it may only have strengthened a belief that already existed. The practical danger requires no additional assumptions. People passing under ladders genuinely risked injury. That alone explains why the warning needed to be passed from adults to children. Most likely, the superstition does not have one single origin. Real danger created the need to avoid ladders, while religion, executions, and folk legends gave the rule a supernatural meaning. Now let us return to the scene from the beginning. A ladder stands on the sidewalk. There is enough room beneath it. A person stops and decides to take the shorter route. He takes one step, then another. At that moment, a heavy tool slips from above. It strikes the ground directly in front of him. The person freezes, steps back, and walks around the ladder. Perhaps he never broke a sacred triangle. Perhaps no spirit of an executed prisoner followed him, and the ancient gods never even noticed what he had done. But people who walked around ladders were genuinely less likely to stand where tools were falling. Sometimes, a superstition does not predict danger. It simply makes us take a few steps to the side. Would you walk under a ladder if you knew for certain that nothing could fall from above?